Hello, everyone. We'll be going live. We'll be recording in just a second. Just need to add the guest here in a minute. How's everyone's Saturday morning going? It's we recording this early. Testing, testing. Hold on. Testing, testing. Ryan, what's up? I'll just add you in just a minute. Ryan, I sent you that link. Oh, there you are. What's up, Ryan? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Your video's frozen.
Okay, cool.
And the video is kind of frozen on your end. Maybe it's just my connection, or is it? Can you hear me?
We back?
Yeah, you're still kind of frozen.
Shit. Okay.
Like,
Give me one.
it's like kind of choppy. Like you're coming in now, but it's.
It's still. Here, I'm going to assume there's a bad delay. I'm going to switch off this and get on my. Try something else.
Try using because the last time I've used.
I'll be on in just a second. I apologize about this.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Let me try removing you from stream and then bringing you back.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Okay. You're back. I think
Is
it's
it
working
all
now.
chopless? Chopless now at the moment?
Yeah, it's the audio is fine. It's just your video is not syncing correctly. It's like your
Oh
mouth
shoot!
moves and then audio, but it's cool. But how's it going? How's it going?
Like a poorly dubbed kung fu movie. Doing all right.
Yeah, yeah. It's like Godzilla.
Sorry,
It's like
still getting
Godzilla.
pretty much.
Yeah. Um.
Yeah, still getting an orange. Uh, some friendly did not, but
Yeah. Now your audio is kind of
we
going
have
in and
that's
out.
not fun for different. I'm going to log off. I'm going to try something different. Okay.
Okay. All right. We'll start recording in just a few moments while we get this under control. How's everyone doing, by the way? Ryan's messaging me. Okay. Just sending the link again. Hopefully this one works. Hopefully that's the same link. I think I sent them the same link.
Hey, can you hear
Yo,
me?
what's up? Yeah,
Sorry.
that's weird that send it
You've
through the
probably
email
an
and it's
echo
like,
on your end. I thought this thing was sorry.
but okay, now no video. Ryan, can you hear me? Now you're a black screen.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. All right, that's better.
Sorry.
That's better.
You're the one getting up super early, and I'm the one like, hey, can we do it at this time? And then all of
No, you're
this
good. You're good.
bullshit on my end. I apologize.
Yeah, I had kind of have some bullshit too because I just realized I forgot to make an itinerary, but you already kind of know what we're going to be talking about. But I'll just give you the rundown again. And for anyone listening to the stream, no one's watching, but you know. uh, but obviously we're talking about Samurai Rebellion, and then we'll do what we've been watching. I don't really have much I've been watching. Like I'll reveal that in the like in the episode. But I'll count us down. The intro will play, and then I'll do the introductions. You know the drill. You've done podcasts before, so
I've done it a couple of times by now.
yeah, a couple 500 times, right? Which congratulations, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, the newest one. I mean, whenever we get back to recording, I don't know when we're going to get back to recording again, but I'll tell later. Yeah.
You got the nice little setup too. I'm kind of doing the same thing with the.
Thank you. I'm
with
trying
the,
to. I'm going to try and make it look a little more organized. I feel like the toy shelf is just kind of anarchy. I was trying to make it more segmented, but they're all too small and there's too many, so it just looks cluttered. So I'm probably going to find different places for those. Keep a few of them and probably get like bigger ones and just like 2 or 3 per shelf rather than what it is now. So
yeah, I just have Thor from Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah. That's all I have. I know you guys didn't like based on. I listened to the Old Man Orange. You liked it more than Spencer. Yeah,
I liked it. I liked it. I didn't love it, but Spencer, it's roll the fucking dice. I love the guy, but his taste, it's hard. I mean, I kind of know what he's gonna think, but as the way he gets there, I kind of see what some of the. I don't always agree with it, but I see the things he's talking about. But I feel like he focuses on this or that few things too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he takes a unique path. So
yeah, we all take our own path, and that's something to strive for. Okay,
right,
sorry,
exactly.
I slow you down.
No, it's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I'm just gonna count us down and then the intro will play, and then I'll do the introductions. So, okay, let me just get that all set up. I'm still getting used to this service, but all right, counting us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Rail Lovers Podcast, and today on the podcast we're going to be talking about the next movie in the Letterboxd Top 250. And joining me, I'm your host as always, Marley Silverbrand, and then joining me to help me make sense of the movie we just watched is Ryan Dunigan from the Old Man Orange podcast. Ryan, how are you doing today?
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. It's been a minute since we had to do any podcast together. I don't think we've really had a chance to interact since like almost a
Yes,
year, which is
yeah.
crazy.
You moved halfway across the world and just kind of left us on the state side.
Yeah, kind of.
But yeah,
it's been like almost 4 or 5 months over here. It doesn't feel like it, but yeah.
right.
But yeah,
You're,
still adjusting, but still liking it.
you're just like screw the states. I'm getting out of here. Like, get me out of here. Like Joe Biden, Trump, just get me out of here. I'm trying to, like you're escaping like all the rest of us. But how'd that move go? By the way.
It went by relatively smooth. I mean, there comes with moving to another country and learning the language and trying to ease in. That's its whole own process, and that kind of takes a minute. But luckily, most people here speak English. I mean, I'm still learning Dutch, just so I'm not like coming in after 5 years of living here and be like, speak American to me. But it's also at the same time, there's still some things you kind of got to get used to. People don't really, there's not a lot of automatic cars around here. There's a lot of stick shifts. I've been learning stick shift, and it's also just some of the small little details, things you don't really take account for that kind of stack up. But overall, I'm really liking it. I'm really liking it. It's just kind of, every so often it just kind of hits you. Oh, wait, yeah. My favorite comic book store or my favorite Chinese restaurant isn't like 20 minutes down the road anymore, or even like it's not even a 3-hour drive anymore. It's so it's that kind of thing, but it is what it is, and I really like it. I'm getting accustomed. I still watch a lot of like political streams and stuff, so I'm fully aware, but I'm just like, shit, I'm glad I'm not over there, but I'm still fully aware of what's going on and all that.
So my question, we'll get all this non-American talk like out of the way like real quick, but that makes total sense for the movie that we're talking about because the movie is a Samurai Rebellion. But I just have to ask is, since you still keep up with like political news like here in America, do people in the Netherlands actually like keep up with American current events? Like I know you do, but like do they actually know what's going on here and just like more than actual Americans at sometimes?
To an extent, like they keep from what I've noticed, like maybe they won't keep maybe not on a state level, or even like if something really crazy outrageous happens, but to a state level, maybe not as much. They might have an idea of if there's a psycho called Marjorie Taylor Greene or something like that, or like they might hear that kind of thing. But at the same time, they also kind of like there's the big figures that the world knows about, and then there's ones that like they know, like they don't know the fine details. They know that like, oh, abortion is back on. I'm not sure if I can say that on YouTube. I'm not sure their algorithm. Sorry if I got us demonetized 5 seconds ago.
I don't have monetization, but I think it's like for the first 5 minutes, so I think we're good. I think okay. You just made it past the mark. So.
Oh, awesome! Good.
Yeah.
So it's like they may not know the key players, but they might know the gist of like, oh, really? That might get revoked or whatever, So something to that effect. I try not to bring it up politics because they got their own things going on here. Instead of 2 parties, they got like 845 parties, and I'm just trying to remember what one of them does. So it's kind of like not literally 845 parties, but there's a lot of parties, and like so it's kind of I'm just trying to kind of learn their system, so I have an idea. So I was like, well, anyway, let's bring it back to America so I can be part of the conversation. So,
like a true American, it's all about me. It's all about me.
I just walk around with American flags, handing them out, going, "Congratulations, you're liberated." Just keep walking.
Congratulations, welcome to democracy. Welcome to capitalism. But I don't know. I just wanted to ask that just because I listened to another podcast earlier this week where they watched all of the Purge movies, and the Purge election year came up, and the person talking about like these movies, like he's from England, and the entire podcast he spent most of the time just talking about how he doesn't care about anything that was going on over here, and it's like even if when news happened to like leak through, it was just like, oh, America's so exhausting, and to have like a movie centered around that was just like he was just kind of dreading it the entire time. But yeah, I just had to ask about that.
Well, like anything, I mean, I feel like how do I put this? I want to say it without like sounding like a doomer, and I also want to say it without sounding so dismissive, like oh, it happens, whatever, not a big deal. But I mean, I feel like it's kind of like
Ryan, it's 2023. Go ahead and sound like a doomer. I sound like a doomer
future.
every time.
It does sound like crazy. Like in the world, in the year 2023, there were like some of the crazy. Like there was the virus that wiped out so much of the country. You know, like so much of the like it just almost sounds like a opening to a dystopian sci-fi thing. But it how do I put it? I feel like we're just kind of going through a rough patch, and I feel like that happens. Some like a rough patch like this kind of happens every like 10 to 20 years, give or take, you know, like certain social norms are brought up and questioned, and then there's pushback and then there's defense for it. And I feel like, you know, 90s when we were kids, there was of course political things. I don't want to make it all political, but there's political things happening in the 90s, of course, there always is. But I feel like it was a little bit more like, oh, everything's fun, it's the big deal. And then, you know, from there, then like I just feel like it comes in waves and then shit picks up again. I'm sure, yeah, there were things happening in the 90s. I don't want to say like nothing happened, but I mean, compared to like, you know, we seemed a little bit more unaware, or people are a little bit more aware now. People are likely hostile. Not, oh, fuck yeah. We're about samurais today. Shit.
Right. Well, yeah. If people are still here, by the way, if you're listening and you're still here after our doom and gloom talk, today on the podcast we were talking about Samurai Rebellion. It is the number 2, and I didn't check this before we started recording, but on my current list it's number 247 on the Letterboxd top 250, and basically this series I'm going through that entire list and watching every single movie, because before starting the series I discovered that I only watched 3% of the movies like on that list. So it's 2023, and like I'm an American with a podcast mic. I might as well make a podcast about like me watching all of the movies. So thank you, Ryan, for joining me. But before we get into that, let's get into our little segment that basically every movie podcast likes to do. Let's get into what we've been watching. So Ryan, what have you been watching?
I've actually not been watching that much recently, but just been busy trying to, you know, integrate into society. And just to wrap back around, short and simple, I think we just kind of go through rough patches. I think we're going through a rough patch right now, but I think things will iron out as time goes on. Just simple, short and simple. Okay, anyway, movies. On that, though, someone else who had a really rough patch, Joe and Ellie. There you go. I circled it back around. Right. So I've been working my way. My wife and I, we've been watching Last of Us as that's been coming out. We've also, you know, I'm not going to lie, at the beginning, I was kind of like, you know what, it's already such a cinematic game. What's the point? And I can understand that stance, but really, they are choosing a lot of right moments to focus on and a lot of right moments to expand on. Like, I don't know anybody who watched episode 3 and didn't cry. So, it's one of those things where I'm enjoying the show, and my wife, who is like, she's not dismissive towards the genre stuff, but she's a little picky and choosy with genre stuff. She's really into it too. Aside from Last of Us, as that's been coming out, also a little bit ago, I saw The Menu, which is a movie I wish I saw before we did our end of the year movie roundup on the podcast, because I really liked The Menu.
I just saw The Menu last week. I mentioned it on the podcast, and like I really wish I saw it in 2022 because it would have been on my top 10 for sure. It's like it's from the writer of Succession. If anyone's like, if you have you watched Succession like at all? So
I haven't watched Succession. I just see like these look like shitty people. I'm sure there's something fun and interesting about that, but I'm sure it's a good show. It's just one of those shows I never really got into or gave a chance, but maybe in time I'll give it a shot. Actually, no, I did see one part of Succession, and that's the part where Macaulay Culkin's brother needs someone to tell him what a disappointment he is while he jerks off, and I was dying hysterically at that. But like beyond that, I haven't really seen a whole lot. Somebody told me about that, like, wait, what? And I just looked that part up real quick.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of it either, but I do actually. I think everyone that clip has kind of made it around the internet, so I know
I
which
don't know
clip
why
you're
I was so
talking
late
about.
to it.
But it's pretty great. But I'm really glad you brought up The Last of Us because I've been neglecting to talk about The Last of Us on the show because like I've been watching it every week. I've been totally like engaged. Craig Mazin, the writer and director of Chernobyl, like he did a fantastic job with that, and he's doing a fantastic job with the Last of Us. And like I'm not really too big on appointment TV, and but The Last of Us is like having me like check in, like we're recording this on Sunday, and I'm definitely going to be watching the next episode like when it airs tonight. It's really great. Like I've just been really impressed with everything. Like go ahead.
It's been like I remember it's one of those shows that I feel like it kind of, I mean, I feel like the video game curse has been broken for a while, in all honesty. But
Yeah.
but at the exact same time, I think like this is sort of the how do I put it? It's not a movie, but kind of like the Dark Knight of like video game movies or video game adaptations, or like just at least like television or film goes, because you know people liked the Sonic movies and people liked Detective Pikachu, but there's still a little of a barrier. People are like, oh, that was better than I thought it was, or oh, I liked it, it was fun. But I feel like most people who liked it, they had to be kind of our generation, even if they weren't big on the franchise itself. They had to be in our generation to like it. And I really like the second Sonic movie. Um, but this one I feel like is the one that's able to wrap in someone who gives zero shits about a video game and
Mm-hmm.
just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, I totally agree. And just because The Walking Dead was popular, Walking Dead was on the air for like 14 seasons or something like that, or 12 seasons. Did they
Mm-hmm.
do like, and they did like a spin-off. And so people love their post-apocalyptic and just I know they're not zombies in The Last of Us, but just infected like like human beings. Like people like that content for some reason. So,
Well, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of dropped off Walking Dead after the first season. Not that I hated it or disliked it. I just kind of
mhm,
like, oh, it's cool, whatever. And I just never got around to the next one. And I read the comic for a little while. So like I read the comic up until like at some point on the farm, like the point from
mhm,
the beginning to like around the farm area of the comic. And and the thing about it that I thought was so weird is because my parents like they're like there's this Walking Dead show or whatever, like, oh, we're not gonna watch that. And then after I leave, they start watching it. They get all addicted. Like, you read the comic of this, right? And they're asking questions about, does this guy die? This guy died. Well, actually, Shane died like in issue 2 or issue 3 of the comic. He didn't last that long. This guy, so I told them the differences that they didn't know about. And they're just I was like, it's so weird. My parents are into a comic book thing and I'm not.
right. Yeah, it's the Walking Dead definitely veered off like quite a bit, and I think the problem with me because I kind of fell off right around season 3, just because there's so much Walking Dead content when right around that season. Like you had the video game, obviously you had the comic books, and then the show. Now they're doing like 7 spin-off shows for the Walking Dead, and like that's fine. That's fine for people that like that type of content, but it's I don't know. It just for a minute there, it just kind of felt like the MCU. Like I'm not sure about you if you're having like kind of MCU fatigue. I kind of had Walking Dead fatigue like back when that came out. But hopefully that doesn't happen with The Last of Us, just because I think HBO understands like what they have there, and there's only 2 games, so hopefully that hopefully they don't outstay their welcome, overstay their welcome.
Yeah, hopefully they don't. We'll see what happens. I mean, well, I also, to be honest, I think how do I put this nicely? Walking Dead, I mean, I liked it, but I was never really blown away. I was more like just surprised the level of violence they can get away with on television. I wasn't
Mhm.
really wowed with the characters, if I had to be 100% honest.
Mhm.
Um, at least not in the show. But the thing about Last of Us is I think since it's so simplified and since it's just like two people and who they interact with majority of the time, I feel like that makes it a lot easier to like fine tune and hone in on. And then the other thing is I felt like the zombies in Last of Us are very secondary. Like they happen, they're there for a
Hmm.
fight, but it's more like other people they got to worry about. And in time, that happens in Walking Dead as well. But I feel like it's way more. I feel like it's done better in Last of Us. Maybe Last of Us had a little bit to work off of, learn what to do and what not to do from Walking Dead. But regardless, I just feel like that one seems a little bit more like I don't know, just less soap opera-y, you know.
Yeah, and I totally agree. And even though I played the game like multiple times, and like I know that they're veering off, like you mentioned, and kind of expanding on the universe, which I actually absolutely enjoy. But there's some episodes that are like directly taken from the game, and I'm actually really surprised, like how much I'm actually crying. Like spoilers for The Last of Us if you haven't watched it. Although we're assuming that you, like everyone's watching the show at this point, but the moment what like the moment that happened with Sam, like ripped my heart out in the game, and like I didn't even know it was coming like in the show, and I totally forgot. And then when that moment happened, I was like, oh shit. I was like, damn.
Well, then they went the extra mile by making you feel bad for him by making him deaf, and they made him younger
Hmm.
in this than what because they were closer to the same age in the game, and it was still sad. It still broke your heart in the game, but this one just like here's this really like nice go get him kid that's has the world against them, and you're just rooting for this kid, and then I remembered what was going to happen in the game, so I wasn't really getting too like overly optimistic, but I was for a second I was like, well, they really expanded on shit with the third episode, so they no, they're doing it. Okay.
Right.
Which
Yeah.
I get, but at the same time, I was kind of like, at that point, I was like, come on, make it out, make it out. Like, I don't know
Like,
what it is. Like, I knew it was going to happen. It's like every time I watch Departed, I know Leo doesn't make it out of the elevator, but I'm like, maybe this time it's going to happen. Maybe this time it's going to work out. I got to have that with Sam.
right, right. It's I'm not sure if you're listening to the Last of Us podcast like every week after each episode.
Nah, I haven't.
But the really it's a really fascinating podcast. Like I recommend everyone should listen to. Listen to it after you listen to this one and Old Man Orange, and then listen to the Last of Us podcast. But it's really great. And for that episode, I thought it was really funny. Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, the creator of the Last of Us video game, Craig Mazin called him up and said like, hey, I want to make Sam deaf, like, and Neil Druckmann, like, it was really funny his reaction because he basically just told him fuck you, because he was like, why didn't I think of that? And I don't know, I just think that their whole collaboration is really great. And Craig Mazin, like I said, like he did Chernobyl, he knows how to do post-apocalyptic like human stories like really well. But yeah, Last of Us is really great. That's all I have to say.
Yes, I'm loving it, and I look forward to the rest of it.
Yeah. Sorry, have you been watching anything else besides The Last of Us and the menu?
Not really, just more keeping up with news. I have been. I'll be honest. To lead into Samurai Rebellion before, I'm gonna say watching Samurai Rebellion and then kind of looking stuff up on it, like stuff for the Criterion Collection comes up. I'll say it makes me kind of want to watch more. Like I feel like streaming almost has like this thing like we all know it's kind of like going off the name of what the show used to be, the water cooler. It is kind of like people all gather in their water cooler, talk about that show that everyone's watching, and there's always going to be a couple of those shows. But I almost kind of wish like I feel like with streaming, a lot of things like Samurai Rebellion or movies you see like on the Criterion Collection, I feel like those are starting to dwindle off, and you don't see those kind of movies on streaming services as
Mm-hmm.
much. You know what I mean? I feel like you need to get a special kind of artsy, pinky out streaming service like Mubi or something in order to get like old like movies from like old 70s French movies or something like that, or even like kung fu movies, or you know what I mean, to get that variety. Because there's a lot of like famous films I was looking up. I'm like, is that on streaming? No, that's not on streaming. Is this on streaming? No, that's not on streaming either. What the fuck, you know?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's why I created this podcast, the Real Lovers Podcast, just help introducing people to really great films like Samurai Rebellion. But I've also been watching. Before we get into that, I've also been watching a few things like this week. Not too many movies, not too many new releases, but I am I'm not rewatching Scream because it's my first time, but I'm watching Scream. I watched Scream 1 and Scream 2, and I'm planning on watching 3, 4, and 5 leading up to Scream 6. Because the trailers for Scream 6, I'm not sure if you've seen it. It looks really great. My only rewatch will be Scream 5 because I saw that last year. But yeah, I'm thoroughly like enjoying the Scream movies like so far. I think my favorite one so far has been Scream 2. But yeah, have you seen Scream, Ryan?
I've only seen the first Scream, and I actually saw it. So I'm not going to lie. For a long time, I didn't watch horror movies because I'm not going to lie. I was too scared to watch them as a kid. Then as I got older, I kind of got more of an appreciation for horror movies. So there's certain ones I went back and checked out. Scream was one of them, and then I'm like, oh, it's a horror comedy. Scream 6 does not look like that. But I'm like, oh, this is basically, it's a horror film, but still kind of a comedy making fun of the tropes and whatnot. And I was surprised to hear how many people say it was good then, but it's not good now because now it's too self-aware and too tongue-in-cheek and too look at us. One of the things we've done it better. I don't agree with that. I still enjoyed it, but I'm guessing you feel the same about that?
Yeah, I totally feel the same. And the thing that I don't really, I'm not one of the people that I don't like horror movies, but sometimes they do make me uncomfortable, like watching them in the theater. But Scream is, I see it more as I think what I appreciate most about Scream is that Ghostface is kind of yeah, he's a serial killer and he kills people, but he's kind of clumsy. I like how clumsy he is in these movies. Like whenever he finds his victim, he's always holding the knife out and he's stumbling over and he's like what an average human being would be if they ended up being a serial killer. It's not like all these big horror movies that are Jason. Jason with the mask and how he's unstoppable and stuff like that. Ghostface is just a regular human and he's just trying to he's trying his best to make it through the world of serial killing.
Well, all I can really go off of is the first one because that's the only one I've seen. But there's that part where there's the two Ghostface and they reveal themselves. One of them was Matthew Lillard. I forgot the other actor. But he's just okay, so here's what's going to happen. We're going to shoot you, and then that way we're going to play it like this. They're giving their evil bad guy speech, and they shoot him, and then right there's oh God, oh God. He's acting the way somebody would, a kid would, if all this shit went bad. And he's my dad's going to be so mad at me. He's sitting there bleeding. He's just he's just the way someone who didn't think this through would act the second their plan starts crumbling apart and all this, crazy serial killer shit was popping up,
Yeah, totally. I think you'll really like Scream 2. I think out of all the two that I've seen so far, Scream 2 is my favorite. It has a brilliant opening with Jada Pinkett Smith. And she has a really great death scene where she's watching she's watching the next, basically, for people that don't know, Scream has a parody movie inside it called Stab. So she's going to the premiere of that, and the way she dies on stage and everyone's kind of thinks it's part of the movie was actually kind of chilling. And for a movie to come out in the early 2000s, I was actually kind of surprised that something like that happened in the movie. But it's really well shot, and just what it had to say with that death scene is actually kind of interesting. But besides Scream, I've also been watching something a little bit more uplifting. I can't believe it took me this long to get on the show, but I binged I don't do this all the time, but I just had to do it with the show. But I binged every single episode of Ted Lasso leading up to the season premiere of I think season 3 drops March 15th. It drops in a couple of weeks. This show is amazing. I love everything about Ted Lasso. Have you seen it, Ryan?
You're gonna be more dehydrated than a tree in a Tim Burton movie.
His Ted Lasso's idioms, like there, it feels like there's like 500 per episode. I like the one Jason Sudeikis is doing in the show is like absolutely incredible, and I don't know, it's so meme worthy and just uh, Ted Lasso. The thing that I love most about Ted Lasso, I think the character Ted Lasso is really great, but I think what I like most about it is that it's so uplifting and like the way it kind of presents mental health on like basically like how men should act like in the world and just like kind of doesn't put them on a pedestal and just like positive like masculinity and stuff like that. I think it's really great on that aspect, and then also like I'm not sure if you know, but Ted Lasso started off as like just like a commercial. Like NBC created this character to like promote like their soccer league, like the Premier League, and to have like a character kind of get spin off from that into like this Apple TV Plus show, I just think is really kind of funny that it just goes from that to this.
I heard something about that, and I kind of forgot about it until you brought it up. It started off as
Mm-hmm.
just an ad campaign and turned into a
Mm-hmm.
show, and it's one of the few times that works, and it worked into a really good show. It was one of those shows that we actually, my wife and I, we started watching it, and the first two episodes were like, okay, all right, it's not like it's not awful, but it's not bad either. We'll see where
Mm-hmm.
it goes. But then as it got rolling along, we were both just really into it. It's like one of her favorite shows, and I like it a lot too. So, and apparently they're only doing 3 seasons. This is going to be the last season, so I hear, because they just want to. Apparently that's what I heard. Like they
Mm-hmm.
have a plot in mind, and it's only 3 seasons long. This particular plot. We started actually something else. We started watching Shrinking, which is by the same show. I'm not sure it's the same writer or anything, but I think some of the same people involved with Shrinking are involved with Ted Lasso. So we started that. It's kind of similar, but I don't want to overtake what you've been watching. But yeah, I really do like Ted Lasso. It does. I do like the positive, the good vibes it has. It also, even though Ted comes out and he's all chipper and happy to like a you're faking it, right? There's something else going on with you. Like, no, he is that positive, but then you also find out he himself has his problems too.
That's what I love most about it, and how it's the show is basically saying like it's okay for like men to open up like to like their male counterparts, because I know it's like I think there was a study going around like online, but how saying that men like in 2022 didn't have a lot of male friends. It's just because they're like not saying that you know what I mean, but it's like it was a
Yeah,
typical study that I saw online, and and I think Ted Lasso kind of like says like basically says like it's okay to have like a male friend. It's like it's not like it's gonna be like it's not like it's gonna be gay or anything like that. It's like be in touch with your feelings, and I don't know. I just think like it's nice having like a happy, uplifting show while I'm watching like The Last of Us. That's something so dark and depressing, and I could just go over the Ted Lasso and just like have like a good time. And I'm really glad. Like I didn't know that they were gonna have like season 3 was gonna be their last season, but I'm actually kind of glad just because the if I the main story like based on the trailer, it kind of seems I'm not sure if it's gonna go off the rails a little bit, but basically spoilers for season 1 and 2 of Ted Lasso. Basically, one of the coaches kind of spins off and starts coaching like the rival like team, soccer team, and the way they kind of like spun that off in like the finale in season 2 made it kind of seem like he's the villain. And I hope that they don't really go in that direction. Like basically, Nate is like coaching like one of the rival teams, but I don't know. I would appreciate more if it was more of like a like like forgives Ted and stuff like that for like kind of like ignoring him and stuff like that. But I don't know. Like it just seems like based on that trailer, like Nate's like in all black, and obviously like they're painting him as the villain, and I don't think like that's not what Ted Lasso is about. It's more about like no one's really a villain. It's just like it's really emotions are the villain when it all comes down to it.
well, that show when it started off, there was like at least like 4 or 5 characters that were like, fuck this guy. And then as it goes on, you kind of grow to like those characters and you kind of realize, oh, they were projecting or that was their defenses up for X, Y, or Z, and it's one of those shows that I think that for Nate, whether it's the first episode, whether it's halfway through, or whether it's the very end, I think it's going to come around to him and Ted making up, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel like that's what's going to happen. I don't. Maybe it might be the whole season where he might be an antagonistic force, but at the end he realizes like, oh no, maybe I was being in the wrong to some extent, or maybe like. Because that was actually another thing too. Because seeing what he went through from season 1, the way how he ends up at the end of season 2, you're like, oh, that's like a dark turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just don't really want it to take like a D2 Mighty Ducks, like because you all know like the villain was totally obvious like in those movies. It's like they had the dark suit just like Nate has in the season 3 trailer, and just like I don't know, like the Mighty Ducks. Like, that's its own thing. To keep Ted Lasso being wholesome and fun. I don't really need, like, this, like, overarching story of, like, 2 competing, like, guys, like, kind of, like, fighting for, like, supremacy. It's like, that's not what Ted Lasso's about. But, yeah, going off of, like, what you said, I have been watching Shrinking as well. I think Shrinking is a little bit... It kind of seems like Shrinking is there just to...
Giant Lasso?
Yeah, it's like while you don't have new Ted Lasso, it's like here's Shrinking to kind of like pull you through to for season 3. I don't think it's kind of doing necessarily the same thing. I think it's a little bit darker in some parts, and I will just say this about Shrinking: Harrison Ford, the way his performance in the show, he plays a therapist, but his performance in the show has me very worried for Indy 5, to be honest. Because he's very... It's just like a very curmudgeon old man. And I'm just like, if this is where Indy 5 is going, I'm not sure... I'm not sure if I'm going to be about it, to be honest.
I'll say this. I didn't hear... I'm playing catch up with your show right now, so I didn't hear your... Raiders of the Lost Ark review. I did see on Instagram it was like 2.5 or something, or 2 maybe. I don't agree with that. I haven't heard their podcast yet, but at the same time, I also feel like, and I'm not saying you fucking Zoomer, I mean, we're the same age roughly, but I mean, I feel like Indiana Jones is almost one of those franchises. Like some things I think can be passed on to the next generation. You can just update this or update that, and kids can get into it. Like I think Marvel and Star Wars, for instance. But or even DC, Indiana Jones feels like a dad franchise. Like I honestly think it dies at Indy 5. I don't think your average kid is gonna give a shit about well, he was in it did take place in the 30s, and then it was the 50s. Now it's I don't think you gotta watch this old man with a whip who used to punch Nazis. I don't think that like kids are going to be into it as much, I just think that seems like I love that old swashbuckly type thing, but I feel like Indy 5, I was like, you're doing Indy 5, really? Okay. I mean, it doesn't look worse than Indy 4, but at the same time, it also like doing, all right, we'll see how this goes. Okay.
Yeah, you make a good point there. It's like, it's not like, when you kind of think about it, like there's no real treasure hunting, like besides like Uncharted. Like, and Indiana Jones isn't really treasure hunting. Like, he's an archaeologist. Like, do kids these days even know, like, what archaeology is? Like, comment down below if it's like...
Do you know? I just feel like it's like there's sometimes those franchises that, like, a dad shows a kid, and the kid likes it, but less interest piles onto that particular franchise or that genre as time goes on. And I feel like Indiana Jones is that. I mean, I think you have other variations of adventure hunting or like treasure hunting and adventure, but just this particular one where, I don't know, I think so many things have aped it. And like, why would I do that when I have Uncharted? The game, not the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to get into an Uncharted tangent because I think Uncharted is actually kind of perfectly fine. Like, it's not like... It's not totally bad. like of a movie, but it's just like it's very workmanlike. I've used this term before. Like it's very like it. People went to work, they filmed the movie, they acted in the movie. Well, besides Mark Wahlberg, but we won't go there. But I don't know. It's like people showed up, they filmed the movie, and then they got paid. Like that's basically like what happened there. But yeah. Besides Ted Lasso and the Scream first two Scream movies, that's all I've been watching. If you're watching here on YouTube, give us a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button. Yeah. Also, if you're listening like not on you, if you're listening like on any podcast platforms, be sure to rate us on iTunes and let us know how we're doing. And if there's anything that we need to improve, just let us know. And but rate us 5 stars. That's what you should do. Rate us 5 stars and then tell us how to improve. But yeah, now that that little spiel is out of the way, let's get into our review of Samurai Rebellion. Okay. I'm going to edit this all out. I'm going to pull up IMDb right now.
Okay.
Shoot.
Hopefully I wasn't too rambly on the whole, like, well, political stuff, and in the 90s it wasn't as bad, but it wasn't like that. But God, that did not come out nearly as eloquent as I hoped it would.
No, it's cool. It's I usually have it all written down, but this
my
is...
camera's probably going to disappear just for a second. I just want to check the battery life of my headphones. One second.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Same.
Yeah, I gotta figure out what's wrong with my computer. For some reason, the Wi-Fi, it's having trouble streaming on the computer, but the Wi-Fi can reach over here. We just got an extender and everything today, so yeah.
Yeah, extenders can have like some problems with it. I don't know what.
I might just need to plug it in directly or something.
Yeah. Okay, I got it pulled up. Masaki Kobayashi? Is that how you say it? Before this is actually part of the podcast.
Let me IMDb this myself too. I know Toshiro Mifune because he's in other samurai and martial art. What do I even have this in front of me? It's not plugged in. Jesus Christ. Toshiro Mifune is like a big time Japanese actor who's in a lot of these a lot of these old samurai movies.
Right. Okay. I got it all pulled up. I'll count us down. I'll count us down again and go ahead.
I was going to say I should have looked up some of the trivia on this, but that got by me.
I got some notes like on here, but I'll go over them during when we are recording again. I kind of like streaming on YouTube because it's like a behind the scenes like look, and then if I'm late, kind of uploading like this episode, I just tell people go to the stream. So yeah, because I usually try and upload this like every Monday, but it's probably going to be a little bit delayed today. But no, not your fault at all. But I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, I apologize. I had every intention. It was just between like 8 o'clock. Okay, 8 o'clock. Wait, my time or your time? I thought it was your time. I thought it was my time. Oh, it was 5 o'clock. It was just like, I'm sorry. It's like a Three Stooges bit. I apologize about that.
No, you're good. You're good. I totally I neglected about the whole time difference. But okay, so I'm gonna count us down in 3, 2. All right, that was from the trailer for Samurai Rebellion, a film directed by Masaki Kobayashi. I hope I'm saying that right. It's a 1967 film, and I'm going to read the synopsis here on IMDb. The mother of a feudal lord's only heir is kidnapped away from her husband by the lord. The husband and his samurai father must decide whether to accept the unjust decision or risk death to get her back. Ryan, this is when I told you I was doing this series. This is the first film that kind of like jumped out at you. I think it was this and Ratatouille that you wanted to like that you wanted to come back to. What made you like I know you like you mentioned like in the first part of the podcast you really like samurai films, but for watching this film, I was totally like it's not like if you're going in like loving samurai films, it feels like this one was it was more of a romantic drama, which I totally appreciated because I know everyone's kind of like I'm not like a big watcher of like samurai films, but when I hear that, I kind of think of like combat, like heavy combat and stuff like that. This was more romantic drama and almost kind of like a Romeo and Juliet with with the backdrop of samurai. But what did you think of Samurai Rebellion, Ren?
Just to clarify, because I don't want to seem like a self-imposed expert of samurai film, samurai cinema, if you will. No, actually, I don't really know a whole lot about a lot of samurai movies. I'm really into martial arts movies. I really love kung fu movies, and there's sometimes a couple of samurai Japanese movies that get thrown in there. But in all honesty, I think there's a big difference between watching, say, a live-action Rurouni Kenshin adaptation and like a samurai movie from the 60s. There's like a big difference. This one is definitely an action movie. Even though
Mm-hmm.
this is still called a samurai movie, it is still like something different, very different in that way. And I've probably
Mm-hmm.
only seen a couple of like old school samurai movies like this, like Seven Samurai, Yojimbo. There's another one that's escaping me right now. Most of my love of samurai comes from like playing a lot of fighting games and anime. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm by no
Mm-hmm.
means I'm by no means like an expert of like, well, back in the day, this is what samurai did. I just really like the aesthetic and the action, a lot of stories around it. It's kind of like I feel like samurai often, like Ronin samurai and cowboys kind of go parallel to each other. There's actually a lot of like connection and the type of story arcs they have, and those
Mm-hmm.
just really appeal to me. And this movie, I knew nothing about it. And when you said, "Hey, you want to be in my podcast? Here's some slots that are open." And I saw a movie called Samurai Rebellion, and I saw it was in the '60s. I knew immediately it probably wasn't going to be a big over-the-top action movie with like fight after fight after fight, because I've seen some of these movies before, and the fights are a little bit more sparing. I'm like, it's probably going to be more of a slow burn, and shit goes crazy at the end, maybe a couple of fights between here and there. And that is very much what this movie is. And I kind of went in a little blind, not knowing a whole lot on it. And then I saw, oh, Toshiro Mifune's in it. That's cool. Toshiro Mifune, I believe he was in Yojimbo. I believe that's, I want to double check that. I would hate to look like a idiot right here, but I think he was in Yojimbo, and which is a movie we covered on Old Man Orange, because Yojimbo is basically the what inspired Fistful of Dollars.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so seeing he was in it, and yeah, that's him. He's also in Seven Samurai. Of course he is. Anyway, so I was like, okay, cool. Let's see what this is all about, and here we are.
Yeah, it's definitely I went in blind too, and I don't really have any like prior knowledge of samurai films. I haven't seen Seven Samurai. I know. Don't shoot me. It is on the Letterboxd top 250, so I'll get to it eventually. But I went into this completely blind, and I think my experience watching this, like I'm not too like familiar with like kind of like the way these kind of films are shot. So some of like the reaction shots I thought were actually kind of were a little bit kind of laughable at some bits just because everything was super exaggerated. But like once I kind of settled in, I kind of got once I kind of put that in the back of my mind. I really started getting invested into the characters, and like I said, like this movie is really just like a Romeo and Juliet film. It's basically about like two lovers that can't love each other because of two competing families. And I don't know. I just like I like stories like that, and like I feel like if I feel like people probably would have watched this film less if it didn't say Samurai Rebellion. Like if it said Love Rebellion, like not a lot of people would see it. So I think Samurai Rebellion might be a way to like get people like into the theaters or click play like on streaming. But like, what do you think about that?
Well, it's funny you bring up the title because I actually was looking up a couple of just little video essays. I don't mean little as in like, oh, your little video, not like not in the condescending way, just shorter video essays on this movie. And I wish I wrote down the name of this one, but one of them brought up, I believe it's like Bushido Blues is the name of the channel, possibly.
Hmm.
Um, he said something to the effect of originally this movie was going to have a different name. In Japan, the movie was apparently released as Rebellion Receive the Wife, which was in order to get like women to go see this movie because usually men wanted to go see like samurai flicks.
Hmm.
In America, they called it Samurai Rebellion to kind of get like this newly forming niche of people who are into martial arts movies.
Hmm.
But in the director's head, the movie's just called Rebellion. And the reason why it's called that is because it's not just meant to be like, oh, rebel against the guy who's trying to steal your son's wife. It's about going against social norms when it's unpopular to do. And
Hmm.
that was something interesting about the movie because every so often you'll watch a movie from the time, and usually there is like, that's obviously the bad guy, that's obviously the good guy. But sometimes you'll watch a movie back in the day, and you're kind of like stopping for a minute and you're kind of wondering like, okay, um, are we meant to not like this person, or is this just something of the time? Is this
Hmm.
just a viewpoint that's okay to have at the time? And there's a little bit of that to some extent because there's the little bit of the she's a good wife. Like, yeah, too bad you didn't have a son. It'd be cooler if she popped out a boy instead of a girl, but it is what it is. And that guy's meant to be cool, you know? So it's
Right.
like, oh, all right, you know, but but then there's like this things like when the wife first comes in and she just like just just stares daggers at everyone, at the cameraman, at anybody in that room. She just looks just like pissed off, like she's ready to snap everyone's neck in that room. And you're just kind of like, all right, is she like, is there going to be some kind of like mama knows best kind of thing down the line, and we're, or is it like, or are we supposed to, is she supposed to be right? And then it goes on like, oh no, she definitely is wrong. She's definitely kind of an antagonist to some extent in this movie.
Hmm.
And that's what I thought was kind of interesting about this movie because it is, like you said, it is more of like a domestic drama with with some romance here and there. And then at the very end, it just builds up and builds up. And a lot of the movie is like people just talking back and forth, like, "Hey, tell him
Hmm.
this," or "You tell him that." The fuck you say? Oh, all right, we'll all go. We'll all go. All right, dude. What'd you say? I said this. Oh, you motherfucker! All right, we're gonna tell our boss. You know, a lot of it is kind of going back and forth, but it works.
It basically human like what the director does. It's like he humanizes like these characters like totally, and that's what kind of like gives, and that's what I appreciate about this film because it doesn't like what you said. It doesn't paint someone as the villain. Like no one's in the wrong. Like here, like if you understand like their side, you can kind of see where they're coming from. Like why you don't want like these why you don't want these two people to be married and like be together, and just because like if you were on their side, it's like I'm like, oh okay, I see where they're coming from. Everyone kind of has like valid points, whether they should be like lashing out on people, like that's up for debate. But like if everyone has trauma and they're all kind of like sorting through it.
I feel like the only people that don't really have any I feel like as far as people within the family, there's reason to have some conflict because it's like, well, honor and pride is a big part of who we are, so we need to, you know, maintain the family name by doing what the emperor says. But really,
Mhm.
the emperor, not the emperor, the lord of the land, is really an irredeemable piece of shit. There's really nothing. He is a villain, but it's kind of everyone working around him that all have to do just because at the whim of this guy. Because the thing about it is because like they they force what they do in the movie is they force the girl Ishi to this family and that are their servants because they're the swordsmith. No, that they're not swordsmiths. They're were they sword? They weren't swordsmiths. They
Shoot.
maintained the weapons. I believe they maintained the weapons.
Hmm.
They demonstrated how to use them, and they said, you're one of the best fighters, why don't you join? He doesn't like the bloodshed, he doesn't want to do that. He's like kind of like a calm man that can handle himself though. And when they're forced to when they're forced to take in Ishii, they're just like, oh, she slapped the king, she slapped the lord, and she went after one of his other girls. Oh, this is going to be bad. And they realized, oh no, that's not really. They misrepresented what happened. The guy was basically using her just as like a birthing pod. He wasn't even treating her like a person.
Mhm. Yeah, and yeah, the Lord is kind of like the Lord like in this film is kind of like a piece of shit. Like, yeah, I agree, but like I'm not trying to say like he's a good person and all, but like I think he's probably just acting uh, on that based on like past like regimes, like with like and and it's and like he's like if he were to kind of like rebel like basically like what this movie's like trying to say,
Mm-hmm.
like that would kind of like make that would make him look bad, so he's kind of trapped with like within like the lordship of like what these uh, who these people are, and like that's like the main characters are trying to do, like they're trying to like they're trying to like break off from the norms of like of what these typical families like want to do. But
Yeah, like I think the thing about that is because what I thought was interesting is kind of when you hear about the story, like, oh, the son and the daughter are the main characters. Like, no, the son and the daughter aren't the main characters. The son and the daughter-in-law, they're not the main characters. The main character is the father. And I just thought that was an interesting choice, just because when you hear it, ultimately sounds like that couple's story, but it's a father looking in, and he's like, I've been in a loveless relationship for the last 20 years. My wife fucking hates me. But my kid over here, they actually they actually love each other. Things are
mhm.
going pretty good. We we should probably, we should probably let this happen. And then once that's taken away from him, he's like, I don't want him to get stuck with another loveless marriage. I don't want all this, so I just thought that was just kind of an interesting way to go about it. It's like almost kind of like a father looking out for his family. It's
Yeah,
great.
exactly. I'm really glad that you said that, just because based on like how this film ends, like spoilers for Samurai Rebellion if you haven't seen it, but but hopefully you have, because we're watching it along with you. Is I think the father figure is probably my favorite character. Like here, like yeah, he's like he's broken, but like what you said, like he will do anything to like support his family, like even like literally at the end, like carrying like the child like on his shoulder as he's like bringing him to, like, because he knows he'll like have a better, like the child will have like a better life like somewhere else. He's literally like carrying, like just fighting people off, carrying like a like this baby like on his shoulder, and just I don't know. I like that was really impactful for me, that he will like literally like fight like people just to make sure that his family members have like a better life than he had.
No, I don't know how much of this is just because in one of those video essays I watched, they said this, and I really couldn't find. I just saw the name of this is the title of the novel it's based on, but apparently, to some extent of this story is based on a true story. How much of it, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. But there's even that line he says, like, no one's gonna remember this. Like he feels like he failed his granddaughter, like as he couldn't get her in time, and you saw him take out all these guys. Like I guess sorry, I'm kind of going a little out of order here. I
No,
kind of like because in the
it's
beginning
good.
there's his partner and one of his only friends who's chill with and he gets along with, and at some point they're like, hey, dude, your boy, he's acting up. We want you to put him down. Well, that's weird. Isn't there like a process? Don't you have to do these three steps before you go and send me after him? Well, yeah, but he's being kind of a dick. Like, all right, superintendent's supposed to kill people. I'm not a superintendent. Pay me superintendent rates. What? Yeah, I heard you. We don't got time for this shit. Well, I don't want to take it out. We want to go talk to the boss. Like, fuck you, get out, you know. And then later, like, so it's kind of like he was trying to find ways around it so he wouldn't have to fight his friend. But then when his friend gave him no choice, and he goes to the checkpoint that he guards, and they're like, dude, I don't want to, but we really, it's my job. What do you, what else am I supposed to do? You know, and I like how they're talking, and he's like saying, he's like, he hands them the kid as he's strapping on the sword and his equipment so they can fight. And he's just holding the kid, rocking the kid, like, yeah, cool, I get it, you know. And then right before they got off like their death battle, they're just like sitting there holding the kid, talking. He says, "If I die, I want you to take care of the kid." And he gets this look on his face, like, "I'm not ready to be a dad, but okay." So,
Right, exactly. And then like, was that correct me if I'm wrong, but like the ending shot of this film with the was that like the mother? Was that like his the lady carrying the kid like off, and then before it goes before like the film ends?
I
Was that
assume it was. Here's the thing. I didn't think about this till now. God, I feel bad because it's just sound. I can't tell. You know, it's black and white. It's grainy. It's kind of hard. But like, it's like it's either the mother or the lady that was nursing the child because that seemed. Actually, no, I think it was the mother. No, I think you're right. I
Mhm,
think that was the mother because I think the mother was back crying as they were burying the bodies. So I
mhm.
think you're right. I think that was the mother, but for a minute I thought maybe that was the lady that was taking care of the kid.
Yeah, I think that was the mother too, and like I think like what I appreciate most about that is that like a mother will like do anything, like a father will cut. When you kind of think of when you kind of think about it, it's a little sexist, which doesn't like for like a film made in the late '60s, it doesn't surprise me all that much, but like the way it's like oh, the man has to like defend and like fight for like for um for their family, but like oh, but mothers, they're just there to like carry and just like kind of and help them along and kind of be like uh the soft and sweet like part of like the family, which it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. Like when I saw that, like even like even someone like Ishii, like she like just like the way she dies like in this film, like she literally took herself out. Like when it like to save like the person that she loves, which is it I don't know, it's just kind of yeah.
No, I get you. I also think it might be. It's kind of like I don't think you're wrong, but at the same time, I also there are those things that are just kind of like things of the time, which that doesn't make
Mhm.
it right. But at the same time, like, well, I kind of compared to other things that are happening at the time, this isn't as bad, you know. But I get what you mean, though. Like, but the one thing about the mom is I thought interesting is because the whole time the mom is just kind of like to your husband, you ain't shit, you know, and just kind of like being really just an unlikable the whole movie, and then up until like she realized because she has this devotion to the emperor. I keep saying the emperor to the lord of their
Yeah.
to the lord basically. She has all this devotion, and then at the end of the day, what's that devotion get her? You know, like this, they kept on taking from their family. They didn't really respect their family. They talked down to their family, and when they finally take something for themselves, then just a little bit of happiness. They try and take that from them too. So I kind of I think that something with the mother at the end was meant to be more of kind of like her coming to terms with, oh shit, my husband was awesome, and not only
Mhm.
that, like these these people fucking suck. These people that are running things, they suck, you know. So I just thought that was just an interesting choice because by the end of the movie, 'cause, yeah, I was only second guessing for a second, like if that was the mother, but yeah, I think that was the mother. Um,
Mhm.
up until because I was like, yeah, she sucks. At this point right here, I'm like, I think she's kind of changed a little bit, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I don't know. I think I had like a pretty good time like watching this film, especially for someone that hasn't watched a lot of samurai movies or just movies like in this style. But did you have any like favorite moments like from this movie?
Well, I will say is probably like any of the sword fights. Some of the sword fights were awesome, and they're kind of like that build up. Like I see watching this, I see why so many Western movies pull from samurai movies and vice versa. I see why that happens. Like how much build up is always happening. And then how they just kind of clash and go in real fast at each other, and then it all happens real quick. And even some of the things you see in anime where two characters run past each other, swords out, and then one
Mm-hmm.
guy like falls over dead. Like I'm sure a few movies happen like that beforehand, but this right here, I was like, I'm expecting that. It happened. There we go. There we go.
Yeah,
Um,
like when when everything was about to go down, like initially, I was like, okay, it's we're gonna get some sword fights like in here, and I know that seems it sounds really bad that like two dudes like on a podcast are basically like, get to the fighting. I want to see the fighting. So give me the sword fight. So to kind of counterbalance, like, because I enjoyed like those parts too, but like you mentioned it already, like on the show, but like like when Ishii like comes on screen and like she's angry and the camera just kind of like stays on her and like focuses on her eyes. I thought was like anytime like when there is tension like on screen, like I felt it. And those are like my favorite parts of like this movie. Just like I like how the way the director kind of like used the camera very simply, but also use the camera to kind of like show tension like that was in the room. Like you can cut cheese in the like in this room like by how much tension was in this room between these two families, kind of like going back and forth. Uh, I really like enjoyed like that aspect of the filmmaking.
yeah, this is a very notable. This is a very notable director. A movie he made before with the same star is called Hakiri, and that's considered to be one of the best samurai movies made. So it's one I want to check out. And I was hearing people making comparisons to that. So
Mhm.
um, yeah, I'm not sure if that one's on the list or not, but that'd be cool to check. I like to check that one out regardless. But anyway, something else. Yeah, I know it is easy just being a big dumb animal, just fighting. But at the same time, I also really liked some of the more like I guess so much of the movie is quiet moments and people talking, and that's all really good. Like this isn't a movie I feel like I can throw on and watch all the time, but it's a movie I'm definitely glad I watched, and it's definitely a movie that if I was still collecting Blu-rays over everything I saw, this is definitely a movie I would like to own.
Mhm.
Um, that said, I think one of my other favorite moments is the scene I already kind of talked about, which is as they're getting ready to fight, it's agreed upon they're going to fight. He's talking to his friend, and he just hands his friend the kid as he's like getting on his as he's getting on like the sword ready, and he's feeding the kid like bean paste and all that, trying to like, yeah, they want us to do this, but the milk lady's not here for a while, so we got to do it like this, and he just
He's feeding
explains it
him.
to the
He's feeding him rice, right?
rice. He was talking about, yeah, rice, and I think he said some about maybe he said some about bean paste, but yeah,
What?
rice.
Which I was totally glad because he was already walking at this for however long, like to get to where he needed to go, and
Yeah,
like that kid was starving at that point. So it's just like thank you. You're feeding the poor child. It's like
well, it's also something about that movie is shit. There's something else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, like the very end. Like I feel like a lot of times when you have the movie where the character heroically sacrifices himself, he heroically sacrifices himself fighting like the big bad and stops the big bad. He got revenge right before he died, and here's a fucking statue of him. Where this one, it's like he just needs to get out of the gate, and he doesn't even make it that far. He doesn't
mhm.
even make it that far. But regardless, his grandchild still has a chance to live on.
Yeah, it's so close but yet so far away. in his mind.
Yeah.
Not trying
Like
to be so
anti.
cliche.
Well, it's kind of also like I don't want to sound I don't want to sound like I don't mean this in a bad way. Usually this phrase means it in a bad way. But don't get me wrong. So a lot of cool shit at the end. All that him going through the bushes and slashing those guys and all that.
Hmm.
But I almost kind of appreciate how anticlimactic it is. Like
Hmm.
how he doesn't die. He dies taking a bunch of dudes out, which is cool. But he doesn't die in this badass pose or like stabbing the Lord through the heart or anything. He dies crawling through the grass, thinking he failed and apologizing to his granddaughter that how he failed her and dies, and he just like just the reality of that, you know?
Yeah, a lot of films like didn't really like. I don't think samurai films were the only ones not doing like the whole epic action sequence like at the end. I actually kind of I think that's kind of like a more recent thing that a lot of films are kind of like oh the hero's got to go out like looking like badass. But I'm kind of glad that they didn't because like I said like there's no real like heroes like in this movie. Like yeah, like the father it can be interpreted as a hero, but like you said like he's also done like he wasn't a perfect human being like from all along, and he was I wouldn't say go far as like say he's an antagonist, but I wouldn't say that he was a like a hero like viewed as like a typical hero.
Yeah, because it was more of a family dispute than this big like this. It's called Samurai Rebellion. So you imagine like half the samurai being like, "We're done with this shit, boys. Let's go tell them
Hmm.
what's on our minds." You know, and they go, you know, but then like it's not that. It's really just a family dispute, and
Hmm.
shit gets out of hand.
Exactly. Uh, but yeah, that was Samurai Rebellion. I don't really have anything else that uh, I, I can say about this film. Do you have any like final thoughts on Samurai Rebellion?
To an extent, it kind of makes me want to check out. Earlier, I kind of went on a little bit tangent because you asked me about Marvel fatigue and all that, and I'll just say how this whole thing's saying. And what I was because like, I noticed because um, I noticed some like movies like Samurai Rebellion or more like classic like classic genre or even more art housey stuff is harder to find, and I just feel like this watching this movie kind of really makes me want to check out the rest of this director's work. And
Hmm.
I feel like you don't see a lot of that kind of like auteur stuff. Yeah, sure, you might have like the Spielberg page or the Martin Scorsese page if you go on HBO Max or something. But I mean, like, as far as like classic directors and old cinema goes, I feel like a lot of that's kind of harder to find nowadays. And it's not really, I know they probably want Marvel and they want all the big stuff that people see right off the bat. And I'm not going to blame Marvel for that entirely, but I wish seeing this makes me want to go back and check out more of old, not just movies from this director, but more movies from this time. Just kind of get more well versed because watching this was almost kind of like I feel like I'm just kind of watching whatever streaming puts in front of me right now. I'm like I want to get more. I want to like see more things like this. I kind of like got some wind in my sails to want to check out more cinema that came out before the 90s. You know.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why I'm doing this series because I want to expand like my I want to expand my filmography on like just like watch a bunch of auteur films, watch a bunch of samurai films, foreign films. I think films like this are kind of like that perfect example of like wanting to broaden and expand in your horizons on the world of film. But Ryan, before we get out of here, because I know it's kind of it's is it kind of late
Oh
on
no,
your side of the world?
it's like almost 7 o'clock at night here. It's not that late.
It's so weird. It's so weird.
I'm
Time
sorry.
zones are
I'm like
weird.
you got up
Time,
early. You're having coffee.
times
You're having coffee. I'm having booze. So
right. But Ryan, before we get out of here, what where can people find you online?
you could find me my on my online Twitter handle at Dunigan Ryan. I don't really go on Twitter that much, but that's where it is. Instagram Grit5. I have two other podcasts. I have Octarok Talk, which I do with my good friend James Hartville. That's been on a hiatus. Just well, that should be come back up soon. And Old Man Orange, I do with my good friend Spencer Scott Holmes. That is on a temporary hiatus just because a lot of snow in Tuolumne, so a lot of power outages. So it's kind of hard to upload episodes right now and record. So right now,
Yeah, I noticed
that podcast itch.
That I noticed that they got a lot of snow. Like we both grew up in the same area. I looked at some of the pictures that someone uploaded. I was just like, oh wow. I'm really glad I'm not near the snow anymore. So
and he lives, like Sonora or Tuolumne County. Yeah, it's out in the woods, but Spencer's really out in the woods. So and a phone line went down. So it's going to be a minute before we're able to upload any of the episodes we just did or record any new episodes. We were doing leading up to. I know I'm talking about. I want to do more our tour films. But leading up to the Mario movie, we're doing like Mario March. So we're just doing like weird, obscure Mario media and things each week. We're already kind of a week behind though because of the power outage. So it comes up when it comes up.
all the links will be posted in the description of this podcast for Ryan. So go check out everything that Ryan does. It's really great work.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, and you can follow this podcast anywhere. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. There's like 10 billion. I hate doing this part of the show because there's so many places. It's like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher,
Google Plus. Yeah.
Wherever you listen to podcasts, this podcast is available for people to listen to. Be sure to rate and review us. Follow us on Twitter at RealLiverPod. Same where on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow me at Marley Loves Film pretty much anywhere. And and to kind of lead into what we're going to be talking about next week is we're going to be talking about Winter Sleep, a film directed by This series is going to break me. I'm not. This series is going to break me on just horrible pronunciations. But Nuri Ceylan. Winter Sleep is about a hotel owner and landlord in a remote Turkish village deals with conflicts with his family and a tenant behind on his rent. This film is 3 hours and 16 minutes, and you could probably. I don't think I can see where you can stream this, but it's most likely. Hold on, let me just.
I watched Summer Rebellion on Internet Archives.
Yeah, you know what? Internet Archives has been really helpful for this because one, I'm not paying for them. Not saying that I don't want to pay for them because I would definitely buy Samurai Rebellion on Blu-ray, but Internet Archives really helps.
What are the chances Winter Sleep is on the Criterion channel?
Winter Sleep, you can buy it on Apple TV for $3.99. So, so come back next week, and we'll talk about Winter Sleep. It looks kind of interesting, but yeah. For the Real Lovers podcast, I'm Marley Silverbrand,
and I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And keep watching movies. See ya. I know. I think I need to come up with a better end, like end tagline or whatever. Keep watching movies seems very cliche. Yeah. But yeah, that was a good episode. I like that.
Oh, thanks, man. I felt a little like I felt a little. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've been. How do I put this? I've not been a good podcast. There's a point where I was really good at podcasting, and since my podcasting has been a little more sparing, and my human interaction has been kind of lower because I only really interact with Ava and then a few people I bump into throughout the day. There's not as many people in my inner circle right now. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like podcasts, movies, so it's kind of like there's the second I get a chance to talk about oh yeah, the new movie that came, or this movie or that movie, then it just the other day I realized I was talking my sister-in-law's ear off about like someone says Yeah, Ryan's kind of mad at HBO Max right now. It was meant to just be a quick little dismissive thing. Like, well, the thing is about HBO Max is they're cutting off all these different shows, and they're just to save on royalties for the animators, so they don't have to pay animators anything. They're barely paid anything. They're barely paid anything. And almost like the week after Kevin Conroy died, the voice actor of Batman, they took down his most popular show, but they traded off this other stupid bullshit. And like, they don't give a fuck about this. This is just, I have not had an outlet. This is just like someone like unkinking the hose and just.
No, that's really. I'm not sure if I'll keep this in, but this is actually really funny because I kind of feel the same way sometimes. Because when I took a break from podcasting for a little bit, I still kind of had like that podcast brain where I was just talking about kind of doing the same thing that because like when the whole stuff was going on at HBO Max. Like, it was just a complete shit show. It was just people, the David Zaslav just canceling, like, everything. I'm just talking with, like, my normie friends. Like, not trying to, like, put those people down. Yeah, and they're just like, get a life. Get a life, bro. Touch grass. Touch grass. And then
just grab by the collars. You're like, I don't know how.
No, that's when...
I'm at that point.
Being an introvert like myself, that's when I just go, just sink down in my chair, just like,
just in the Homer Simpson, like disappear in like the hedges.
Yeah, just disappear in the hedges. It's like, yeah, that was I don't know. It's nice having like a friend like you, Ryan, where I can just like invite you on and we can just shoot the shit. So,
well, if you need me coming on, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I actually. Did you want to like watch Winter Sleep? I know it's 3 hours long, so it's like.
I would be up for it. I gotta double check because I'm starting my new job soon. So and also just all the other things that come in with like integrating into Dutch society. So I'm gonna try to, but I can't promise. That like this one, I had it marked in my calendar. I had the day cleared because I don't know what my schedule is going to be. I don't know what they're going to give me. I know it's only part-time job, so it's nothing like it's nothing too strenuous in that aspect. But I just don't know when it's going to be, and also trying to learn stick and get my Dutch driver's license, and then other things. I got like citizenship stuff. So Winter Sleep's a maybe. I want to, but I don't know if I can. So put me down as a maybe.
I'll just put a question mark.
Okay.
I'll put you as a question mark.
What day would you be filming it?
Recording? Like on the sheet, like I specifically scheduled all this out because I feel like this is the best way to do it. I will be recording it. This is still going off of like if we recorded back on Thursday. It would be March 9th. So March 9th would be this Thursday. Okay. I think I could actually still make that because... Hold on. Let me just double check. Because I'm going to a screen... That might actually work out because I could actually record early in the morning that day. Because that day, I believe that's the Scream 6 fan event that I'm going to.
Nice.
I paid for it. It's not like I got invited or anything like that. But
just go in, just like with your VIP badge. Don't even look at the guy. Just like sunglasses on. Just like walk by and look.
I go into my local theater. Like I'm not sure if you probably had this like experience too. But since we go to the movies like all the time because of like the thing that we do, the theater workers start recognizing me. So I'm basically a VIP to them, where they're just like, "Oh, here's Marley watching the next movie." Like, "Are you going to record a podcast?" I'm like,
in San Francisco, I went to movies all the time because there's 2 movie theaters. I feel like I was way more versed in movies then because there's like 2 theaters within walking distance of my apartment, and like both those theaters would play weird art house and limited release shit along with whatever big Marvel or Star Wars movie came out, and so even if it was like, okay, they're playing a big movie that of course I want to see, and then they're playing some like art house shit that's only going to be here for 2 days, I'm going to go definitely check that out. It's only here for 2 days, you know? And half the people at those theaters were like, "Hey man, what's going on?" The other half were like disenfranchised, like just bored hipsters, like, Yeah, it's Theater 3 on the left. Uh, like, God, I would like kind of like they're just so kind of like this job. Like, oh, I would kill to work at this fucking this old school theater. What are you bitching about, dude? I mean, I don't know. I
What?
wasn't there. Maybe the boss was a dick. Who knows? But it was just one of those
What
things.
to be
There's so
fair?
much of this. Like, do you want a hell or high watermelon beer with your popcorn? Like, fuck yeah, I do. Like, whatever. Like, fuck you, you know. So it's like, I don't know.
Well, to be fair, that they're
Still
probably.
live.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead, yeah.
I usually go live just a little bit like after, just like I don't know, just with the vibes. Do you want me to like end the broadcast? Or do
It's
you,
fine. It's fine. I'm not planning on saying anything offensive. I just
Okay.
I don't want
But-
I don't want to get I don't want to get too I just don't want to get too overly like my Tuesday, whatever,
But yeah, don't. It's okay. But speaking of overly offensive, let me just say this. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, it's not really overly offensive. I just think it's like I kind of get a lot of those theater employees too, where especially more recently, because not trying to put down this generation at all, but it's mainly Gen Z. Because it's just like Gen Z kind of has like, oh, we're only getting paid 12 an hour. Like that's not enough, like to live on and stuff like that. Like yeah, minimum wage could be higher and stuff like that, but it's just like, be grateful for what you have. That's what I have to say. It's like, I was getting paid like $7.50 an hour, like working at the theater. It's like you guys are like getting paid like almost double that. Granted, inflation like here in America, but yeah.
I'll say this. I don't think that's strictly a Gen Z thing. I think it's just a generational thing. Because I feel like I've been working long enough to remember, like, I'm sure I had my days where I was like, whatever. But I was one of those people who was a pretty hard worker. And that's not me trying to pat myself on the back. There were probably those days where I've been there for a while and I was like, oh, just get through the fucking day, whatever, But I do remember there's people that would be there for maybe like a week and they wouldn't last just because, they didn't want to work and didn't have any ambition to work. And it wasn't until like they got fired from a few jobs so they learned how to work, So I'm not trying to overcorrect or anything. They're definitely, I think it's one of those things like we just see someone like fucking up. It's like, what can I Zoomer. Like, no, it's just the age. It's just that age. I think there are plenty of people our age who are like that.
Yeah, there's plenty of millennials that are like that. I'm like that too, but not trying to.
The people I was complaining about are the same age as me. The people I was complaining about were roughly the same age as me. I was like, motherfucker, you're living in San Francisco, working in an art house theater. You get paid for this shit, I have to shove bikes on tourists. That fucking sucks,
Shove bikes on tourists? What?
Like not literally, but just like
shove
bike, just shove somebody.
You're just throwing.
No, but just like you had to if it was like a slow day at the bike rental company, you had to go out like, hey folks, want to bike the Golden Gate Bridge? Like half the time, like fuck no. People just keep walking by,
Right. I don't miss my biking job. The jump bikes. In a way, I do, but I don't. It's like I don't know. Like I'm still working like a job that's not like what I want to be actually be doing, but I don't know. It's a job for right now, especially here in America with inflation the way it is. Boy, oh boy. Is inflation as bad in the Netherlands as it? Because I hear like it's more of a global thing, but
it is a global thing. We've been getting by okay, but I mean, I guess the dollar to euro exchange rate, I really don't know off the top of my head. So it's kind of like everything was already a little bit more expensive over here, just or seeming more expensive just because of the exchange rate on that. I mean, some things are like a lot cheaper, like like if it's weird. How do I put it? Like, I feel like if you go to America and buy like maybe I wasn't looking in the right spot. If you go to America and buy like a big wedge of cheese, you're probably $10. You go here, like a big wedge of cheese is a lot cheaper because like it's cheese, it's everywhere. Everyone eats cheese. It's everywhere. Bread and cheese are like two of the biggest food groups here. So you go in and buy like a whole loaf of bread for like like $2, you know. So it kind of varies on where you're at. Maybe that's the price of it in America. I don't know. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention. But
well, I can tell you one thing that isn't as expensive as America. I think you already know. Healthcare.
oh well, yeah. There's that. There's that.
Because the rest of the world gets it. I like.
Well, it's not free. It's not free, but at the same time, it's also like my plan would probably, given on the situation, it sounds like a lot of money, but this plan would, like, if I paid what I'm paying here in America, like, here's a Band-Aid, get the fuck out, you know, we're here.
Yeah.
It's a really good plan. So, you know.
Yeah, like my insurance is fine like right now because I go through I'm working for Amazon now, unfortunately, but I'm only there for the benefits. But I just think, like, I just did my taxes like here, like I just finished them, and it's like whenever I talk to people that's not from America and I mention taxes, they're like, "What? You guys have to do your taxes?" Because everywhere, I'm not. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not sure if the Netherlands is it's this, like, if this is true, but everywhere else, like the government just sends you a bill, like if you owe money, and if they owe and if they owe you, they just send you a check. It's like here in America, because of monopolies like TurboTax and H&R Block, like they basically strong arm like the government saying like let's have the citizens do the work for us, and then we'll still charge them at the end, which is absolutely, it's like the fact that America's so broken. I just want to say America's broken.
Yeah, no, that's actually more or less what you said. That's something to that effect. I don't know if it's as simple as like, yo, we owe you some money, here you go. But I think it's something kind of like they send you a sheet of your taxes of that year, and then you kind of like, there's a few things you got to fill in, and then you send it back, and then you either owe money or you pay money, and it's as simple as that. But this year, it's not going to be as simple for us because we have a weird year. Like I had like 2 jobs in 1 year. We got married. We moved to another country. So we actually have to get like assistance for that this year. But usually in the Netherlands, moving forward, it's a lot more of more or less what you said.
Yeah, which is, it's so mind-boggling because that makes sense. It's like we're correcting the government saying like, hey, you got this wrong. I actually made this much. Instead of like here in America, it's like I'm doing all the work, and then the IRS. I'm gonna end the broadcast.